The podcast is back. Welcome to Tasler Guide Service. Join along as my guests and I dive into our outdoor adventures, share some laughs, and of course a few beers. A new episode will be released every other Friday at 5 a.m. I hope you guys have as much fun watching as we did making it. A little fine tuning. I probably got all screwed up. You let me in charge of shit for a while, and I just...
It only took me 40 episodes to figure that out. Actually, it didn't take me 40 episodes to figure that out. It took one episode hanging out with Grandy. Where he's like, oh yeah, your stuff sounds like shit.
Let's fix that.
Yeah.
I did a podcast with him Thursday. That was a blast.
Yeah.
We went to that Fire Trucker brewery in Ankeny.
I've been there a few times.
That's the first time I've ever been there. It was pretty cool.
When I went there was a drag show on TV, on every single TV.
I'm hoping you're talking about cars.
No.
No.
It was, what's the famous drag queen? RuPaul? I think that's her name. Yeah,
I believe so.
Or whatever you want to define her gender as. We could divulge down that road, but the problem with that is so many people get so deep into it, at the end of the day, all I give a shit about is catfish. So.
Yes, absolutely right. And I don't care if that catfish is male or female.
Right.
As long as it fights hard,
right,
and I get to see it.
Whatever pronouns you want. You can call me anything you want, but at the end of the day, I'm just a catfisherman.
No, you are Captain Bauer.
I am Captain.
You're
right.
This is the first podcast you've ever been on as Captain Bauer.
That's a fact. He, him, doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
Little baby girl, probably a little whiner. I'm Captain Bauer.
That's right.
So suck it.
That's no shit. So welcome back, man. You had a trip down south?
Do you call that a trip? I mean, I was down there for months.
Yeah.
But I didn't move, so I guess you could say it's a trip.
I mean, you were not at your homestead. You had to adapt on the road to anything that came up.
It came up.
And it does. And that's probably the toughest part of that, going down there for months, is you know where everything's at your house, and then you have nothing.
I'm pretty proud of myself. You know, like, not that I'm really good at thinking ahead, but I've had enough problems in the past. I think it's just a testament of how many problems I've had that I've thought ahead to bring a bunch of shit. Like, I brought everything I needed to rewire stuff, used it. I brought everything I needed to do trailer bearing. I had replacements for every single thing but an axle.
Oh, yeah.
Used it. And
one fail swoop.
Yeah, I didn't bring anything for cutting. I didn't bring any saws.
Yeah.
I brought drills, I brought impact, and, like dead blow hammers and stuff like that. But I didn't bring any carpentry stuff.
That goes back to the old adage, you only know what you know. And once you know it and you've been screwed by it, you prepare for it.
Yeah. I guess it's not that I'm smart, I've just things up enough times where
I'm getting very good at it.
Yeah. So I had all that stuff and then brought a bunch of tackle. I ended up bringing more stuff than I needed, thank goodness, versus the other way around. But it went pretty smooth for the most. For a guy who had 2 bearings go out and my fish finder went out, and there was one other thing that was really expensive. The fish finder was the most expensive.
At least the most annoying.
Well, it was over in a day.
Yeah.
Like I went out, hit the button, it turned on. The Garmin's, the way they work, you have your graph, right?
Yeah.
The graph head. And then it fits on this plastic plate, so you have the power source connection there, and then you have a spot on the back of this plate where you plug all your cords in. So you have multiple connection points.
Which leads to multiple failures.
For me, it has.
Yeah.
I'm sure I'm screwing some. I mean, I don't ever grease them. I should probably grease them.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that
dielectric grease.
Yeah, I don't know if that would have fixed it either way.
At least keep some water out and stuff.
Yeah, well, and they have a little rubber thing to put over the top of it, which I was very diligent about doing that.
Because that cost you one early on, didn't it?
Yeah, in like 4 months.
Yeah.
So that first one lasted 4 months, and I'm like, oh, I don't want that to happen again because that's $50.
Yeah. That was one of the first things you told me when I put mine on my boat. Make sure that thing gets put on there.
Yeah. So the power plate went out, got a new power plate. Actually, I bought a new whole fish finder because I'm like tired of dicking with that, and then I ended up getting a new power plate and selling it. And the guy came by with a battery, and well, I tested it beforehand, and he tested it to make sure it worked. Like he's had the same problem when he bought it, but it's down the road.
So did you go to Garmin again, or what'd you get?
Got a Humminbird.
Humminbird?
Helix. I've had several Helixes, and they treat me pretty well. There's some things I don't like that I actually like about the Garmin's imaging over the Helix, but I think if I play around with it a little bit, I'll be able to tweak it.
Fine tune it.
Yeah.
So you're gonna go to live, or are you gonna stick with Panoptics or Live Scope?
I mean, it's cheaper just to keep her, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I don't use it a ton, so I'll probably just keep it for now. And maybe I'll get to that point if there's a time down the road where I have a little extra money to spend, but this year will not be one. Like
we've hit the quota already, and it's March.
I mean, so I leased my truck, and I got it because I had this idea of how I could make things work in the long term, but I didn't have the finances to make them work in the short term, and leasing it made a lot more sense. And I went way over miles, and that's fine because I was planning on buying it once the lease is up.
Yeah, we talked about that when you got it.
Yeah, and it's not the most financially responsible way of going about things. Like if you could just buy it, you should just buy it. But actually with COVID and the shortage of vehicles and how much that vehicles went up, when you sign your lease with the intent to buy the vehicle, and there's probably going to be some fine print that screws me.
We haven't reached that bridge yet.
My understanding is this vehicle has this monetary value at the end of your lease regardless of condition and miles. So if you want to buy it, that's what you pay for it at the end of the lease. So I'm going to pay, in theory, I should pay that much, and it should actually end up working out okay.
Yeah.
From, financially speaking. So I got lucky. Hopefully I got lucky there. We'll see.
And you still have the option if something catastrophic goes wrong with it that you don't have to buy it.
I went so far over miles that it would be.
Doesn't make any sense.
It makes no sense for me to walk away. So
you're paid just as much and not have a truck.
Right. and this is all based on my understanding.
Yes.
I could be totally off with this.
There could be shades of gray that pop up.
Could get bent over and. And that's probably what's going to happen. It's happened to me most of my life.
History has taught us anything.
But yeah, I'm going to have that big expense coming up in July, and I'm sure there'll be something else. Shit breaks.
So that was what, a 2 year? Have you had your truck for 2 years? 3?
3 years.
Wow.
Yeah, it'll be 3 years in July.
Wow.
I got it before I got my boat. Not much before I got my boat. But
that was the reasoning for getting it, right?
Yeah, because I got that, and I knew I was going to buy my boat, and then I put my deposit down.
So every 3 years, that's expensive. You get a boat, you get a... Which you may be looking at another boat. Even.
Yeah, if anybody wants to buy my boat. It's not for sale right now.
Yes, but keep it in the pocket.
But it will be probably in September.
Yeah.
That's where I'm leaning towards. Because I'm thinking about doing more tournaments and then fishing more big water.
Which you've kind of migrated that way in the last year.
Well, that, and it's not that I'm going to abandon the small water. It's just I'm going to do it out of a kayak instead of a boat more often, or with you. Because you got the good shallow river boat, and I got a kayak.
Yeah.
And
no sense having repetitive equipment.
Well, it is nice to have your own shit.
It is. And especially for guiding. Are you going to cut back on guiding around here a little bit and move to big water, or?
How I would do it is all my guiding would be on big water. I would not run guide trips on small water. If anybody wants me to run guide trips on small water, I will refer them to you.
Or you use my boat?
No.
That's happened.
No, just refer them to you, and I do a month where I run trips on maybe the Missouri or the Mississippi, relatively close to home, and then do...
Home of the Hundies.
I'd like to find one.
Yeah.
I dream about them all the time. And then do 3 or 4 months down in Bama.
Yeah.
And run charters down there. I'm trying to...
Talk about that a little bit. You're thinking about making a switch from Florida next year.
Yeah, I mean...
Nothing's concrete, of course, but...
Yeah, I might end up going back to Florida.
Which isn't a bad place to be.
My thought process on that is as much time as I spent down in Florida, and I feel like I've learned a lot of things, and I became a better angler than I was before over the 2 years I've been
Which
down.
is huge, no matter where you're at or what you're doing.
I mean, don't we all try to get better all the time?
I try to get better at tying my shoes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I want to be more efficient at every single thing I do.
So if I got better in Bama instead of Florida, and like I caught, I think 3 or 4 times more, no, how many? Yeah, 4 times more 40 pounders this last year than the year before. And the water conditions were worse. So it's like, well, maybe I'm getting better. And if I could do that down in Bama instead of catching 40s, are they 60s? Are they 80s?
Yeah.
You know, like.
Yeah, the high end potential is so much better.
Right. Florida's got the badass weather.
Yes. But compared to Iowa,
Bama's not bad.
Bama is not bad.
And if I get the other boat or a different boat, I'm gonna have a full enclosure on it.
Yeah.
So like shit weather, it's no big
That's
deal.
what it is.
Already got a
Crank
heater.
up the buddy heater.
Already got a heater. Already got a hose. Already got a propane tank. I mean, that's a drop in the bucket compared to the $55,000 I've been spending on this boat. But I got the heater.
That's right.
It's fine.
That's right.
It's
I
fine.
got it. Give us a update on Florida. How'd it go? We kind of touched on it a little bit. But
Florida's badass. It's got a pile of catfish.
And there's a song about it down in Chattahoochee.
I was south of the Chattahoochee.
You were?
Yeah. There's so many good rivers down in Florida. They have a pile of good fish. They don't have the top end like the Tennessee, the Mississippi, and Missouri. And I'll name them bodies of water just because they're just giant. Like
You could go anywhere in the U.S. and be close to it.
exactly. Like those giant bodies of water have the most potential, the most high end. But Florida's all the rivers just got a pile of catfish in them.
Yeah.
You can catch flatheads year round. You can catch blues year round. You can catch blues year round anywhere there's blues. But the flathead year round part is cool. I didn't ever figure out how to really.
You didn't dive into it.
I didn't. Well, I figured as much of what I did, even though I'm mostly using cut bait, you still think you bang out a few. But the water was warmish. I mean, 50s. I think I saw 60-degree water one day. Never saw 40. It was in the 50s 95% of the time. Probably more like 99% of the time. But you got the flatheads, you got the blues, you got the hybrid stripers are real good. And the first year there was a good run of striped bass, like real striped bass. This last year it was kind of sucked for stripers.
What you were thinking, low water, probably had something to do with
and
that.
that's why I said that we didn't have the water conditions that were as conducive for big fish this year as the year prior, because where I'm at, the higher the water, the more big fish are going to be up there. You got more bullshit to go along with it, like just getting your boat into the water.
So that first year you had troubles, like you'd go out and then the river would come up or shoot up? Or?
I didn't have any major problems with that. The time frames where it was really, really high, I luckily didn't have any charter trips. So I just stayed off the river and fished the salt. That's what I ended. When I fished the salt was when
Not a bag fallback plan.
No. So I did that.
In Iowa, we just stay home.
That's what I've been doing. With this shit weather we got, man, like, it was decent when I got home and it just fell to pieces.
Yeah, 2 weeks before you got home, it was nice.
I don't want to sound like a farmer talking about the weather, you know, like sitting with our coffees and then.
Mother Nature sucks.
Yeah, but for real, you know.
Yeah, get your shit together.
It's 29 out, blowing 25 mile an hour. There was a truck in the ditch on the way here.
I had my daughter all weekend, and we were just stir crazy yesterday, and it was snowing pretty bad.
Yeah, I was driving it.
Yeah, we ran over to 30 miles to the east of us just to get out. We went to Walmart, went out to eat, you know. But that was a 40-mile-an-hour trip.
Yep.
It took forever.
We went and looked at Subarus yesterday.
Subarus.
Yep, Ella wants a Subaru.
Nice. Avocado green.
You know, I never thought of it, but I'm going to try to talk her into it.
I mean, you should be able to write it off if it's avocado green.
She's team avocado.
That's right.
No, but we did that, and I thought it would be a terrible day for looking at vehicles, but it ended up being great because you got to see how they're really handled in that shit. You know, it snowed probably 6 to 8 inches down in Des Moines.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, we didn't get near that here, but we got enough.
You get the blowing snow up here because you don't have a tree.
Yes. All my trees fell down 2 years ago.
Right.
They all fell at one swoop. That was a good time.
But it was fun driving around Subarus. They're not bad. I kind of like them. You know, I'm a truck guy. I'm always going to have a truck. As long as it's financially reasonable for me to drive a truck, I'm going to drive a truck.
Yeah.
And that's just because you can throw nasty, gross, bloody, disgusting things in the bed of a truck and not worry about cleaning it, not giving a shit about anything.
Yeah.
Whereas the Subaru is a very sweet ride, and except
Not kayak friendly.
yeah, it'd be really kayak friendly because you can just throw your stuff on top, and they don't sit that high up, so putting your kayak on a roof rack wouldn't be a big deal like it would be with an Expedition. But the problem is
Getting in it all muddy, smelling like shit.
or your bait tank, man. Like, and you could get a rack that goes in a receiver if you got a tow package or something, but it's just more bullshit.
Yeah.
If you have a truck, there's no bullshit. You just
Throw it in.
yeah, and don't think
takes
about
it.
Yeah. And when you do that stuff every day, because it sounds so minimal, and it is, unless you do it every day.
When that's your life,
Yeah,
that's a daily occurrence.
Yeah, when I wasn't, fishing for a living, basically, and being on the water most days, I still did that stuff every day.
Yeah.
It's like you would get off work, I would go fishing, or go catch bait, or just something involving leaving the house and going to the water. So if you deal with it every day, it's kind of annoying. If you fish 20 times a year, it's not as big of a deal.
No.
Or if your guy fishes 10 times a year, but says you fish 40, there's a lot of those. It's still not, I fish all the time, it's not a big deal. And it's like, how many days are you actually on the water, bro?
Yeah. Because after day 3, I'm pissed about it.
Exactly. There's got to be a better way. Exciting news. I got a new kayak.
That was one of the questions I was going to bring up. We talked about.
Haven't been this excited about a kayak in a long time. And especially, I test paddled it. It's a high enough end kayak where you don't buy it in a box store. Spent way too much damn money on this thing. It would be the most money I've ever spent on a kayak in my entire life.
But it checks a lot of boxes.
Checks all the boxes. That's the reason. If it was missing one, I'd been like, we can just hang on
around,
or not. Just keep what we got.
Because that was a hell of a kayak.
Well, I had, for what I do, the Ascend H10 is the best bang for your buck kayak. Period. End of story. For a guy who wants to fish creeks, small bodies of water, do camping trips, that type of shit, and you don't want to spend very much money. I mean, very much is relative.
Yes.
Keep it not just under $1,000, but well under $1,000. A couple, $200-300.
Yeah, there was $700-800.
$700-800 kayak that it's 10 foot long, weighs 55 pounds, has a removable seat that's pretty darn comfortable, that you can double as a camp chair, keeps your butt off the plastic. It'll haul 425 pounds. It doesn't paddle worth the shit, but who cares if
I'm going downstream 90% of the time.
Exactly. That's my point exactly. So, and it's pretty stable,
Yeah.
So it's small, easy to carry, easy to drag, pretty stable, hauls a bunch of shit. Great kayak for what I do, and for anybody who does similar things to what I do. If you wanted to kayak on the ocean, terrible kayak. Get something else.
You're gonna get wet.
But if you're on small rivers, lakes, ponds, tiny stuff, great.
Bang for the buck.
Had no reason where I needed to get another kayak except I found this one and it seemed better. And
the light bulb turned on.
And then I just geeked out. And anytime I was sitting on the toilet and had 5 minutes, I watched videos on this thing. That's
how Bauer's World works.
Like most of my research is on the toilet.
Well, and it's like you get chiggers or something. It gets under your skin and just keeps working.
I never thought of it like that, but you're right. Because I try to keep it out of my head, but it just keeps coming back. I think of a lot of things that work out that way. A lot of ex-girlfriends worked out that way.
That was getting them out, though.
Yeah. But, so yeah, I just did a bunch of research on it, and I was looking for any reason not to spend the money on this thing, and I just couldn't find it. So there was a place around here that carries them, and they let me test paddle it. And I hopped in it, paddled it around.
They knew what they were doing.
Like, the secondary stability, like you lean just a couple inches and it just locks in hard.
It catches. Heck yeah.
And it paddles sweet. So paddling upriver is going to be like no big deal. I mean, it's not like I'm going to have a motor on the back, but
Yeah.
you'll cruise. You know, you won't feel like you're dragging an anchor.
I won't be keeping up
No.
in my D10T.
I will be slowing down for Ryan. And,
I'll meet you there.
Yeah. So there's that. But the other big parts that I love about it, it's got a bow hatch. You know, you flip the bow hatch open, and they have a molded, or it's molded in. They have a molded in
like container
that's part of the kayak mold. So I cut that shit out of there. And they actually had nice tubes.
Did he mention that this is the most expensive kayak he's ever bought?
Elle was shaking her head. She's like, "You just spent that much money and you're cutting holes in this thing already?" I'm like, "Hell yes, I am. It's good. I want to make it great."
That's right.
So I cut that out, which conveniently removes some weight, and it also opens up the.
So you can add a lot more weight.
Well, that weight was going in there either way. So now I have this wide open space in there to put my dry bags with my camping stuff. Hell, you could fit, dude. You could put a 9.5 foot bait caster, like 9.5 foot rod in that thing.
Wow.
No problem.
Wow.
So that's pretty badass. Wide open. It doesn't have, like, the deck is completely wide open. You don't have anything popping up.
And it's a sit on top.
Sit on top. It's got the removable seat. I'm going to try to shoot a turkey out of it here in about a month.
And you just throw him right in the front.
I could, yeah. I could store him under the hatch if I wanted to. But, well, the removable seat will be nice because I'll be floating down the river going, yoop, 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 yoop. And when I hear it up, I'm going to freaking pull over. I'm going to shoot him in the face. Well, the seat is removable, so I can take the seat out and use that as my turkey hunting chair while I'm hunting out of this kayak. Then I'll have my pole strapped in. I'm going to catch a limited channel cats, and I'm going to go home and have a feast.
It's going to be a great day.
Find a pound of morels. Like freaking
I don't care what that kayak costs. It was worth that one day.
Yeah, that's the all-American freaking Saturday,
That's
man.
a grand slam.
Listen to the Cubs win on the radio. Drink a six-pack when I get home.
Yeah.
Freaking life's perfect.
If there's ever an old meal commercial, that's what it is.
And this
there.
This is what leads me to spending stupid amounts of money on shit like this.
Is that one concept that you're going to make come true.
I hope so. If I don't even need to do all of it. If I shoot a turkey out of it, I'm going to be jacked.
No, because your mind will just switch. Be like, all right, now it's channel cat time.
But yeah, I'm excited about that. And I'm just excited for the weather not to suck.
I know.
It's got to end. But I remember last spring, the entire month of April, I'm like, this shit weather's got to end.
Yeah.
It's got to end.
Yeah.
And it just kept going.
And then May, it just like a switch turned on.
Yeah, it went from 30 to 90.
Yeah.
Well, I
It was
remember,
crazy.
because that's one fun thing about being on the water all the time is you get to see crazy shit and you get to see how stuff reacts to it. So the water temp went from 42 to 62 in 3 days.
The fish were panting. They were so hot.
No shit. No, I saw some badass stuff last spring, like when that water. So even with the garbage weather, the fishing was wonderful because the water conditions were perfect. And
We're low and slow.
No, we had that wall of water. Like it would have been in April. We got a big rain, and the river came up 5 feet.
It did.
And it's like this wall of catfish. Because I was on there before it came up, and there was a few fish, and you'd see them on your fish finder. You'd catch them up here and there, and then that water came up 5 feet, and I went down through that stretch, and where I used to see 2, 3, 4 fish on the fish finder, I saw like 150.
Instead of saying there's a chance.
And even with the trash weather, there was a couple days where we caught like 30, 40, 50 channel cats.
Holy crap.
The one that really sticks out to me is I was running a double, so 6 to noon, noon to 6, and I got there at 6. It was 37 degrees, or 36, something like that. And I'm like, okay, the sun will be out, it's windy, it's going to start snowing, but it's going to be up to like 42, 44 by noon.
Yeah.
It never got there. So
We were just cold as shit.
Yeah.
And I've still got 6 more hours to go.
Well, so I show up and the dude's wearing like this Miami Dolphins windbreaker, a pair of jeans, and like New Balance shoes. It's 37 degrees. I'm saying, hey man, you got another sweatshirt or something? It's like, no man, I'll be fine. We made it, I think, 2 hours. When we were catching fish too. You know, it's one thing to be cold
When you're sitting.
and not catching nothing, and then you feel 10 times colder. We were catching. I think we caught 5, 6, 7, 8
In 2 hours.
In 2 hours, but it was just like constant bites because they were real. You know, a lot of tap here, just and then you'd have one hit a little bit better and catch it.
Yeah.
So it wasn't. We were sitting down waiting. It was we were moving around like, oh, that one. But even then, it was 8:30, 9. Maybe it's 9. They're like, we need to go in. You sure? You sure? Okay. So we went back.
Well, hurry up, because I'm coming right back out here.
Well, we went back, and then I called the next group and said, can you get here earlier?
Yeah.
You know, like dress warm.
Yeah.
But it was interesting. I don't even remember why I was telling you all that. It was just a fun story. But
That is a fun story.
To catch channel cats when the weather sucks that bad, at that high pace, because I want to say caught those however many we caught, and then I dicked around and caught another 5 to 10, and then that other group showed up and we fished the full 6 and caught like 20 or something, 20,
Wow.
25, 30, something more. It was like 40 or 50 fish.
Just
a
awesome.
day.
Yeah.
It just,
And it shouldn't have been.
well,
Condition-wise.
weather-wise, but that
Yeah.
that water, I think water conditions trump everything else, man. Or at least they did on that day.
Especially, early when they're sluggish and that gets them fired up. And they're
It gets
ready
them
to-
moving.
Ready to
You know, you
mow
get
down.
that rise of water, and that's what gets them moving upriver. Here's the best tidbit of catfish advice I can give anybody. The thing that I've noticed, right? Maybe not the best.
Everybody put down your pencils.
I feel like this is valuable. In the spring, if the water comes up, the fish run upriver. In the fall, if the water comes up, they run downriver. So you can adjust your fishing strategies based on
Yeah.
those concepts. Like, as long as you know where they're going or where they're coming from.
You can cut them off.
Yeah.
Just like deer hunting.
If you don't know where they're starting and where they're ending, it becomes a little trickier. But if you know the start end point and then know that in the spring they're going up, in the fall they're going down, then
Find an ambush point.
Yep,
Heck yeah.
and that leads to fun fishing, fun times.
So that was another question I was going to talk about, is this tough transition period between winter and spring before spring actually gets here. What's your best advice? Let's just throw out channel cat. What's your best advice for the pre-spring, post-winter kind of blah that we're in right now?
Fish a place that has a shit ton of fish in it, because even if they're going to be mostly negative, but if there's a
Yeah.
pile of fish there, you'll still scratch it. If you
Couple positives make a good day.
Well, it's like when we were out last weekend.
Yes.
Same deal. It's like, why did we go there? Because the conditions were garbage.
Mm-hmm.
And even though they're garbage, we're still going to scratch out a few because that place has a pile of catfish.
Yeah.
And we didn't pound on them, but
No.
we did okay.
Enough for a catch and cook.
And plus more.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did okay.
Yeah, there's probably 6 to 8.
And for the weather we had, I mean, the water was like 35 degrees.
Yes.
And we caught,
And the wind was howling.
and how many did we cook? 4? Three.
3.
3.
And then I think another, at least 3 were caught.
Yeah.
Maybe 4.
So,
yeah.
6, 7 cats in 4 or 5 hours. And we got a meal out of it, and the weather was upper 30s with 20-mile-an-hour
Yeah.
winds and raining.
It was, we've been ice fishing or me anyway. I quit ice fishing probably 3 weeks ago because I was just revolting against ice fishing. I'm over it. I'm
Mhm.
done. I want open water. and
Ponds
that's
down
it.
by my house were freezing up.
Yeah.
They were half froze on the way here.
Yeah,
I'm kind of pissed off about it. But anyway.
our local pond that usually has a shad kill that I try to get some shad to freeze every spring, it still froze. There's no shad out.
Yeah.
It's still froze solid.
And I need to catch shad tomorrow, but that's a different story. But anyway, yeah, that was a good day. And then the conditions lined up real good 3 or 4 days before that, where, like I said, I caught 12 or 14 in 3 hours.
So we're looking for shallower water more than likely.
Yeah,
it'll heat up the first.
That's the reason people try to paint a picture of it. So correlation doesn't necessarily mean causation, which is one of my favorite statements that I try to live by. So just because A happens and B happens doesn't mean B happens because A
happens.
But is it because it warms up, or is it because generally the shallow mucky water is on the north side of those lakes and reservoirs, and on those nice days where the catfish are moving the most, you also have a south wind that pushes bait up there?
Pushes the bait up.
Or is it because on those nice days where catfish are moving the most, it's because they're going to run upriver on those reservoirs, and they're drawn to the current because they run upriver in spring? I don't know.
Or who cares? As long as you put all those things together.
That's the big thing too.
Yeah.
There's so many times fishermen are like, fish do this because of this. I'm like, how do you know? You don't.
Yeah.
And B, why do you care? As long as you know that.
As long as you can put that pattern together.
Right, because at the end of the day, you're catching fish whether you understand it or not.
Yeah.
Which leads me, this is kind of something I've been working on. I don't think I've even told you about this. I'm debating on doing a fundraiser.
You asked me that.
I told you about it. And once I get things figured out, if I ever get things figured out, I'll make announcements on my videos and stuff. But to do a fundraiser where we would raffle off, like you buy a ticket, like maybe it's $5, $10, $20, I don't know, whatever we decide.
Yep.
Whatever makes the most sense. And you can buy as many as you want, and then that would enter you into a raffle. But I want to do it digitally. That's the hiccup. If it was all local stuff, you just sell the ticket, and then you pull the ticket out of the hat and whatever.
Well, like 515 Fishing does those raffles all the time.
I already talked to Derek.
Yeah.
He didn't give me much that would help me that much with what I'm doing here. Because it's larger. It's national based. It's not local, and I'm hoping that there'll be a lot of people buying raffle.
And still with like Venmo to get the money to you, and then.
But I don't even want to touch it. I want it to go to something, or maybe go directly to the DNR. All right. So how it's going to work is we would raffle off tickets for a free guided trip one with me, one with Ryan, and that money would go to the Iowa DNR, the Fisheries Biology Department,
with an earmark, with an ear tag on it. It's used for
acoustic tags and acoustic receivers. So on a handful of bodies of water in central Iowa, there's acoustic receivers, which basically means if the DNR catches a fish and puts an acoustic tag in it, and that fish goes by that acoustic receiver, it dings.
It's like our trail cam we talked about.
It's not quite that specific. Not as badass, but it would give you information that would be useful. The more acoustic receivers you have on this waterway, the better you'd be able to track these fish's movements through this body of water. And then the other cool thing is all of these receivers are, like, the database is shared amongst all the Midwest Fisheries Biology departments. So if we tag a fish in central Iowa and it runs all the way down to the Mississippi, up the Rock River in Illinois, and goes we'll get dings all the way down, all the way up, all the way across.
That's cool.
And you have all that information available to all of these research biologists, so they can take this information and apply it towards management strategies that make more sense to provide us with better fishing. So the money raised would be for acoustic tags and acoustic receivers.
For knowledge. And
I'll pull it up, but I mean, it's just...
We should make a side bet, like I get fish number 15432, and see who travels the most miles on the side pot, and that
it's like we're betting on horse racing.
Yes, for that tag. Oh, mine went 837 miles.
So
I won $800.
Well, aren't there bets on the great white satellite tags?
I have no clue.
I'm pretty sure you can go to Vegas and bet, because they'll tag the great whites with satellite tags and track their movements forever, whatever, and you can make bets on all kinds of shit. And they got odds.
I bet he gets a swimmer.
But these things ain't cheap, but they're not as outrageous as I thought they might be. Each tag would be $300, and each receiver is $2,500. It'd be really cool to raise enough money for 2 receivers, so that'd be $5,000. Be cool to raise $10,000. I don't have the details worked out with that. I just have an idea. I'm full of ideas. It's the implementation part that is the problem.
Your whole winter was coming up with ideas.
Dude, that's everywhere.
When you're down there, you're not running the trip, you're sitting on the boat.
Just thinking.
The mind.
Just thinking.
It's like being on the toilet for 12 hours.
Well, you know what they say is, that's one of the downfalls of technology now, is like you're never bored. And boredom is what leads to creativity. So I have plenty of boredom because I fish for fish that don't bite very often on a regular basis.
It's kind of their thing.
Yeah, it's nice. Like flatheads especially. So it like lends for me to have a lot of time to think about those things. Guide trips are different because I try to make it as fun as possible.
Yes.
But when I'm just sitting there chilling, vibing,
taking it all in.
And then all these things start popping up in my head, and I just need to find somebody who likes just making stuff happen. Like I have ideas.
I got the ideas. Go.
Yeah, I need somebody to just be able to put them in practice.
There's people out there.
Allegedly,
so,
I don't.
They don't listen to our podcast. But there's people who make a fine living of just being the go guys.
Speaking of flatheads. Did you hear about the giant that got caught down in Bama?
No.
Like 73 pounder, 6 pounds off state record.
Really?
Yeah, I'll throw this shout out. I talked to this guy for a very short period of time. It was really awkward because neither of us knew what to say. But
so a normal conversation with Bauer.
Right. But from everybody I've ever talked to, he's genuinely a great guy. But his name's Josh Brown. He runs Backwoods Catfishing Guide Service in North Bama.
In Bama. And not a bad place to guide.
Well, so he's on a wonderful fishery, but he's also a really good fisherman who takes advantage of it. And he put a client on a 73-pound fish.
How cool is that?
Like just a few days ago.
That's cool. I haven't seen anything on it.
See the picture? There's one picture of him holding it sideways, and he must be a big bastard, whoever caught it. But so that picture shows it's big, but not really how big it is. There's another picture of him holding it like this with the head forward. And if the dude's giant, let's say his hands are as big as mine, and I wear XL gloves, and my general rule is if you can fit one hand that's like a teener, if you can fit 2 hands and they're touching, it's 30. If there's a little separation between your hands,
getting there.
You're like 40s. Yeah. You could have fit 4 freaking hands like 4 of that big bastard's hands in this flathead's mouth. And maybe with a little room to spare. Like it was huge, man. It's the fish I dream about. Yeah. Like that he caught the fish, like that guy reeled in the fish that I dream about, and Josh Brown back. Like this, I don't hardly know this guy, but big shout out to him because he puts people on fish, does well in tournaments. The Tennessee gets all the publicity, but there's so many good places.
I mean, just that area. Somewhere where I can catch a flathead 9 months out of the year. Realistically.
12 months out of the year.
Yeah.
I caught one in January.
I'm sure it gets pretty tough.
I was there for a day and caught one in January. Come on. And especially now that I know, I caught that one in January without a functioning fish finder.
You did.
I was fishing off of my wits, old school,
Old school.
And actually, I kind of enjoyed it. Like it makes me want to turn the fish finder off every once in a while. Well, I used to do that with my kayak.
And kayaking, that's what I was gonna say. Kayaking, that's why I enjoy it. You're just kind of back to nature and.
Electronics make you soft. Electronics and condiments. Like if you're a person who says, I have to put ketchup on everything, well, I mean, now you have this thing you need. What if we have a zombie apocalypse,
And all the ketchup runs out.
And all the ketchup's gone.
And you're going to starve.
You're a fraction of yourself because you no longer have ketchup.
I don't have that salt to really push me through.
That's right. Says the hot sauce aficionado.
Well, you've got enough built up. You'll be good through most apocalypses.
You know,
There's a difference between needing and enjoying.
yeah, but I honestly look at food. I appreciate something that tastes good, but if it's marginal food, I don't give a shit.
Yeah,
it's fuel.
It's fuel.
It's
Yes,
fuel.
That's exactly right.
Like, I don't know how many times I went camping for like 2 or 3 days and I lived off of trail mix. And I could have taken the time to cook something like decent, like bratwursts.
I had them.
I had them. But that would have taken 15 minutes away from the fishing.
That's right.
I don't know, I just get in that mindset. Sometimes I get in that mindset I want to cook. Sometimes I get in that mindset where I'm like, it's all about the fish. That's going to be this
And bumping's a lot different, because that's probably what you were doing. Most of the majority of the
daytime
time.
flatheads. Daytime flatheads would go like that.
Yeah.
Because you're burning, turning spots so fast if
Yes.
you do it right.
Yes,
Yeah.
if you want to be successful, you
Yeah.
got to hit 20, 30 spots.
Yeah. So I think, what did I figure out last year? I averaged 1 flathead per 12 spots.
Yeah.
So
And that's a good year,
if you hit 24, you're going to catch 2 a day.
in theory.
Yeah. But you average it out.
Yeah.
So some days you catch 4, some days you
Yeah.
catch 1 or 0. But the more you burn and turn, the more you're going to catch, generally speaking.
Yes.
Because they pop up in weird ass places.
They do.
Mm-hmm.
But a daytime flathead spot, you're given 10, 15 at the most minutes,
Yeah.
and then you're moving.
Closer to the 10 than the 15
Yeah.
if I'm like on it. That's one thing. I enjoy beer while I'm fishing, but I push them off because I know I'll get lazy.
Yeah.
Like if I
That's the sandbar time. It's after the daytime trip's
Yes.
over, you settle into camp.
that's the
That's
ideal
when the
time.
beers go.
Sometimes
Yeah.
they happen earlier.
Depends on the frustration of the day.
Yeah.
But if it's 90 degrees and you're running from spot to spot, water fits in just fine until you get the cool down. And
I bet I drank fishing less this year than I ever have.
well, you guided more than you had.
I'm not talking about percentages, but just
Yeah.
like the number of days that I fished and drank a beer was less this year than it ever has. I don't know if I fished as many days this year as I did the year before. I don't think I did.
It's ballpark though. Within
I think it's
20 or 30,
I think it was
yeah.
20 days. I think I fished 20 days less this year.
well, you got more avenues on your plate too.
I mean, we can make whatever excuses.
But
I'm sad I didn't get on the water as much. It's next year.
it's a new year.
Well, actually,
New
I
year.
started off on a better foot this year. I'm ahead of schedule.
Nice.
Yeah. This weather ain't helping,
No.
but I'm about to
No.
go on a little 10-day jaunt down south, trying to get an early flathead, maybe some gator gar.
Yeah, that's one reason why I really haven't 100% dedicated myself to next week, because I might save that time and go down south.
Do it. Do them both.
I wish I
You
could.
only got one
damn
life
it.
to live, bud.
I know it. I wish I could. I really wish I could. So
How many vacation days you got? Let's do the math.
3 weeks.
All right. So we're way under that. We got 3 days plus 7, so you got 11 extra days of vacation.
So when are you heading down south?
The end of the month.
The end of the month
Yeah,
for 10 days
at least.
ish.
Depends on if you go or not. Like,
Well-
if I go, it's like I can.
We're not going to cut it short. You said flathead, so it might be the
And
longer
gator
one.
gar.
It might be the longer one.
Going to Texas.
Yeah.
Gonna hit them all in Texas.
Heck yeah.
I'm gonna hit 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have 5 rivers planned.
Kayak.
Kayaking. And maybe more. We might be more. But 5 for sure. So the thought process is if I'm going to hit all these 5 for multiple days each, get a vibe, which ones I like the best, and then do this again next year and then focus the majority of my time on the best.
On like the 1 or 2
Yeah.
that are close.
Yeah. So that's my plan. Speaking of flatheads, my buddy Ty Klebe of Pig Patrol,
Yeah.
he caught a stud. the other
Really?
day. Yeah. Like, it's somewhere in that 50 to 70 range. Caught it out of a pond. How dumb is that?
You always hear about that.
Oh, man.
Usually it's on a Snoopy rod.
He was fishing for flatheads. Like, he had heard they were in there, and he'd heard they were in several ponds. And my understanding is he pond hopped and fished a bunch of them with no success on the flathead front, and then
It takes one.
that one bit,
It takes one.
and it was stupid fat.
That's awesome.
Yep. So I want to catch fish like that. I haven't seen a big flathead since May. It's the last
It's
one.
time. It is freaking time.
Yeah. I didn't get to reel in a 50 last year. No, I take that back. I reeled in 2.
Oh yeah, your
But
Tennessee trip.
they weren't in Iowa. I didn't catch
Yeah.
it. I had a client reel in a 50 plus
Yeah.
in Iowa, but I never got to reel in it.
I had more 40s last year than I had probably in the previous 5 years.
Oh, easily.
Yeah, I think I had 4 or 5 in the 40 range,
Yeah.
which is pretty cool.
Yeah, usually I'm used to me catching all the fish and you bitching about how you don't catch it. Last year you caught some nice ones.
I really don't bitch about it. I just enjoy the ride.
I might have not extrapolated, but I might have blew that out of proportion a little bit.
But I'm gonna start bitching, goddammit.
Mhm.
That's gonna be my new goal. I'm gonna change my genetics and I'm just gonna bitch all the time.
Then we might not be fishing much.
We're just done.
Yeah.
We're just done.
That might be one of your most admirable qualities, is you're not a whiner.
Just forehead first.
Well,
whatever
there's so
comes,
many
goes.
people that are whiners. That's the thing about the shit that I do and you do, is there's a lot of people who would love the idea of it.
There's a lot of shit to whine about. The stuff that we do.
And then, and I never show putting in or taking out because I don't want to blow up the spots anymore.
Yeah.
They already get blown up. But some of the put-ins, putting a kayak in on some of them little creeks and taking out on some of them creeks is bad.
Especially, you had a long, hard day of overcoming whatever was in front of you, and then you got to trudge through this knee-high mud for
Oh yeah.
hour long,
Or you
or straight up a hill.
Yeah, I have
Yeah.
an 8-foot pull cord on mine, which I'm going to get a longer one just to make it a little easier. But I don't know how many times I've gotten straight over the top of my kayak. Like, you haul everything out of it through knee-high mud, get it up to the spot where it's no longer muddy,
So you have something to grasp or something to dig into.
and then you grab the rope on the kayak and pull it straight up this 10 to plus foot whatever bank, just to have the opportunity to drag it another 150 feet to your truck. Good times.
Saying, oh, there's poison ivy, there's thistles, there's...
Yeah. And there aren't too many people as sensitive to poison ivy as me. If you are, I'm sorry. Like, if you're as bad as me, I'm sorry. I wouldn't wish that on my worst
Yeah, I
enemy.
really wasn't until about 5 years ago, and now I get it probably once a year. But yeah, it's like I grew into it. I morphed into being allergic. Pretty bad.
Well, they say that the more you're around them, it's one of the few allergens that your reactions increase.
Instead of building up a tolerance,
Yes.
it goes the other way.
Yep. And I don't know what the chemistry is behind that.
But it sucks.
I could be wrong, but I feel pretty confident on
Yeah.
that one. All I know is my tolerance was low and it's gotten worse. But if I can make it through mushroom and turkey season,
Yes, spring's my worst.
if I can get through that, like the last 2 years I have.
They were good years.
They're
Good years.
usually pretty good. The other thing, hot tip for anybody who is really sensitive to poison ivy, Dawn dish soap is your friend. Like, keep a bottle of Dawn dish soap in your shower and be diligent. Like, you get out of the woods, the first thing you do is hop in the shower and scrub down hard with that dish.
Cuts that oil that's in there.
Yep, cuts that oil, and you still might get it, but you'll get it less and it won't be as bad when you do get it.
That's good to know.
Yeah. Hot tips.
Hot tips straight off the press.
Yep.
Talk about guide trips. How you looking for guide trips? How many you got lined up? And do you have any openings for this year?
I don't have an opening till August.
That's what I thought.
It's kind of. I've been referring a bunch to you.
Yeah,
I referred one to you today.
did you?
Yeah.
I think I've got 2 in the last 2 weeks that you had call me.
Yeah.
I've had some other ones call me, but they haven't locked up a
Gotcha.
date. But 2 of them have set up trips, so that's awesome.
I'm gonna keep sending them your way, bud.
And we got a couple that we might collaborate on. Might have both
Maybe.
boats out,
So
possibly.
we had a bachelor party, which I need to call that guy. I need to do a reminder. Phil, if you're listening, give me a call. But he's got a bachelor party that he wanted us to.
That'd be so much fun.
It would be.
It'd be a blast.
Absolutely would be. I called the insurance guy and he was like, no booze. I'm like, I get it. So we might end up doing a day trip instead of an evening trip with those guys. I guess the prequel to their night out. We'll see. I got to talk to him. That would be an interesting one. Then we got the one that I'm real excited about, though, is it's the tournament.
We got a little competition going.
Yeah, because
yeah.
I think I'm taking the boys, I'm taking the boys, you're taking the dads.
Okay.
And we're going to see who catches the biggest fish.
Heck yeah.
So, and I can't remember when that one is. I got it
May
in my notes.
16th, possibly.
Maybe.
Possibly.
It's flathead season.
And then we got another one where you're taking the guy out during the day, and then I'm taking him and his brother out that night.
Oh shit, I don't remember that one.
He's going out with you during the day, but his brother can't make it until that evening.
Yep.
So I'm going to take him and his brother out that night.
Oh man.
So he's going to do 6 with you, 6 with me.
You're going to wear them guys out. I guess we both will.
Yeah,
That's
they'll be
a long
wore out
day.
before I get there.
If you aren't a person used to being on the water, there aren't too many things that wear you out more than something like that.
Yes. And when I do 12-hour trips, I prefer to do them overnight, like a 6 to 6. And then, a lot of times you're stationary on a sandbar or pushed up to a log, or you're not fishing hard for 12 hours straight. You get to enjoy it.
I ran me some 12 p.m. to 12 a.m.s last 2 years. With the right group, it's a good time.
Yeah. Oh, it's a good time, but that's a lot.
But I get home and I just crash hard.
Yeah. You can't wait for sundown on trips like that.
I mean, I don't think like that. I don't even think. I just go. And then when I'm done, I'm like, shit, I'm tired, so I'm gonna go sleep. But I guess the real good thing of that is I sleep like a baby.
Yes.
I'm wore out and just ready to call her.
Is when they do run a 6-hour trip, and then I can take them back to the boat ramp and then go back out and then just camp on the boat.
Yeah.
I enjoy that so much.
Mhm.
It just gives me time to unwind, maybe try something I hadn't tried so far in that trip.
Oh, yeah.
Try a different spot or try a different something that just to try to learn something, but mainly just to decompress and just relax. And then I'd wake up at 5 and go to work. I really enjoy that aspect of it.
And miss the best bite of the night.
Yeah.
No, like if somebody cancels on me, or there's been a few times where there's been a misunderstanding as far as times. Sitting at the ramp and you call someone and you say, hey, where you at? And they're like, what do you mean? We have our trip planned next week. I'm like, no, we don't. I have my little spreadsheet right here that says
You were highlighted.
That it is right now. And then, but I'm not, luckily I'm in a position where my entire income isn't based on guiding revenue. So when those things happen, I can go out and try dumb shit. Like, let's try this idea that I've always thought about doing and never had time.
Because I'm here. Now
I'm here.
Yep.
Boat's in the water, bait's in the boat. I'm going to go give it a rip. And 9 times out of 10, nothing good happens.
Yeah.
But that one time where it does, you're like, oh my God. And then you expand upon that pattern, and then you start to find out like some really cool stuff.
It's something just panned out.
Yeah. I mean, like, or it sets up good for the next guide trip. Like, my last trip in Florida, there was a mix-up on days. So they thought it was the next day, and I had it for that day. Well, it wasn't the end of the world, because the next day, I got an extension for the Airbnb I was staying at. He's like,
Nice.
yeah, you can stay another 5 hours. Like, instead of checking out 11, or 6 hours, instead of checking out 11, check out at 5.
Once your trip was done.
Yeah, so a trip went from 8 to 2, and then went back, showered, had all my stuff packed up already.
Yeah.
And then hit the road. And
so that's cool.
No big deal.
Yeah.
But what that did is left this day wide open. So I knew where I could catch fish. So I didn't hang out.
I'll be there tomorrow.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And I knew it wasn't going to be great, but I knew I could catch some fish there. And I told him that. I'm like, fishing sucks right now. I'm going to do the best I absolutely can. I hate to be the hero of every story, but I'm going to be the hero of this one.
I mean, you're telling the story.
Right.
So,
Well, when you're talking to somebody and they're the hero of every story they tell, like they get the upper hand all the time, I'm not even a little. I pretty much just...
You're full of shit.
They're all full of shit. But in this moment, this one actually worked out.
The superhero cape came out.
So that day, I fished and found basically nothing except this one little nugget of information. I had a nugget. It wasn't even like it wasn't nothing good. You know, it was like, this spot's marginal. I can catch fish here. I'm going to screw around downstream. But what ended up happening was I caught one fish on this gravel in like 25 feet of water. So I'm like, maybe there's something in this gravel.
Yeah.
Next day, we're on the guide trip. We catch a handful of fish.
In the marginal area.
In the marginal area. Okay, we caught fish. Good.
Now we're going to the gravel.
Now it's slowed down. Let's go to the gravel. And we went to the gravel, and instead of fishing just cut bait, we had some live thread fins, and I threw a live thread fin out on the bottom, and it gets freaking roasted by a 30-pound or 32-pound blue cat. So this guy,
it's what they call a kicker fish.
I'd call him this buddy of mine. So he never caught a blue that big, or cat that big. Plus, he now has the record for the largest blue cat landed on the catfish and carp spinning rod.
Really?
To my knowledge. I don't think, like, the biggest one I'd ever seen prior was a 31.
So you're thinking wipers or stripers?
Yes. Yep.
And then 32-pound blue.
32-pound blue, slurped up that live thread fin.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah. And so we caught a flathead, a channel, a blue, big blue, ate the flathead for lunch on the boat, had a 9-pound bowfin.
Really?
Yeah, stud bowfin, which they're kind of considered trash fish down there, which I don't know why. They fight like crazy.
Yeah.
Well,
so do carp up here, but
people shit on them. But the bowfin eats live bait, dead bait. It'll eat a lure. Like, you can catch them a pile of different ways. They're a North American snakehead, is what they are, and they fight harder than wiper.
Really? Or
at least as hard. I mean, just powerhouses.
And 9-pounder, you said?
Oh yeah, Jesus! On one of them spinning rods, it was. Well,
it got to work.
Oh, the guy who caught his name's Pine, which is wonderful. Pine green. His dad's pepper green.
Oh, that's the.
They're the pecan.
Pecan farmers. Yes.
Awesome couple dudes. Fun trip, and Pine gave that bowfin the wood.
Straight eat.
Just the straight eat. And good thing too, because as soon as it got in the net, I'm pretty sure the hook popped out.
Oh.
But that's what happens with those things. They come off the hook all the time.
Yeah.
They're hard to keep pinned. They fight really hard. Big head shakes. Their mouth is basically pure bone. They got nasty teeth. Nasty. Don't lip one. Don't. But they're cool. You know, we don't have them in central Iowa. They're in the Mississippi on the eastern side of the state, but we don't have them here.
Yeah.
And I've never seen one in my life other than fishing down there, and I thought it was pretty cool.
That is awesome.
You know, like my only bitch about carp, it's the same deal with sturgeon. I just think they're boring. Like, predatory fish are cool. Predatory fish eat other fish. They'll hit lures. They'll eat live baits. Channel cats, they're opportunistic, but I just think they're cooler fish. Whereas carp...
And you growing up catching them has a lot to do with that as well.
But the reason I targeted them was for the reasons I thought they were cool fish, whereas a carp and a sturgeon, granted I'm simplifying things, it's much more complicated, but they essentially suck things up off the bottom and just cruise around, where I don't think that's as neat.
It's something with a purpose.
Well, I mean, they have their purpose, it's just different, but I think
they're more la-da-da-da-da.
Yeah, in my mind.
Yes.
You know,
yes.
You can romanticize anything you want, but I think the catfish are cooler, and the carp and the sturgeon, while they both fight like crazy. Yeah. And you could make the argument, well, I would tell you straightforward. I'll say it straight to your face. Carp, pound for pound, fight harder than catfish.
Yes.
Pound for pound. I will
I agree.
100% say that. And I would rather catch catfish because I think they're cooler.
Yeah, you don't have to steer me on that one. I'm on the catfish bandwagon.
Yeah. So we're on the same page on there, and if you're not on that page, good for you, man.
Yeah.
Or wool man. You know, like whatever you like is what you like.
Yeah. And if you want to run a carp guide trip, I'll take you out. We'll have a good time.
I had a gar guide trip.
Yeah.
This last year. Went all right.
Gar were found.
Gar ended up in the boat, just not on the fly rod like they want.
That's a tall order.
Not anymore. I feel confident now.
You got the gar dial?
I think so. Like if somebody wants to book a fly fishing gar trip, we'll put one in the boat.
No, you won't because you're full and I ain't taking them. Well, without extensive research.
Ryan will take you.
Yeah, you need to pass your knowledge on.
Your extensive research will take 2 minutes.
Go here.
Go here, and take a piece of, like, you're going to tie these flies, and I'll give you the fucking bobbin to do it. All you do is take a short shank hook, fairly decent, well, you don't even need heavy wire. You don't want thin wire, but you want just normal wire hook. And you take a rope, a nylon rope, and you tie it to the hook.
So it's something for the teeth to catch in.
Yes.
The old shoestring trick that Brad and Dave were talking about.
I don't know about that, but probably. But anyway, you're not going to get them with a hook. You're going to get them with a rope. You leave a hook on there just in case, but you're probably not going to get them with that. And be ready to net them as soon as they're close to the boat.
Or they're gone.
Short-nosed gar, don't fight worth a shit anyway. So
keep pressure on them, get them to the boat.
Yeah, you're going to land most of them. Now that I know that, if anyone want to book a gar trip, Ryan's got you.
Hey, I'm up for it. It sounds like a good time to me.
It's pretty neat, you know. And then if the fly fishing thing didn't pan out, we just threw little chunks of shad, caught the hell out of them. We did.
We knew they were there.
Like, I kid you, the hookup percentage is really low. I tried treble hooks, small trebles, tried 4/0 circles. The hookup percentage was about the same with both of them. And we probably hooked up on
which is impressive.
So you want it, here's how many bites we got. We hooked up on probably less than 1% of the fish that bit. We caught 6. As soon as baits hit the water,
we found the gar. We found the gar.
Oh, there's a handful of spots where there's just hundreds of them. High water, low water, doesn't matter. They're there.
That's my spot.
Yeah. If it's high, they're closer to the bank. If it's low, they're further out. They're just there.
That's awesome.
I wish we had long noses. I think gar are badass fish. I wish the short nose actually fought. The long nose gar fight like crazy.
And jump and
yes, they're
make
awesome.
runs. And,
Gator gar fight like crazy. Short nose gar fight like a walleye. They do. Like, you'll hook one and you'll just reel them straight in lots of times. And they're just shaking their head back and forth, and that's it.
Quit picking on me.
Yeah. But they taste good.
Well, 50% rate anyway.
I did not keep a single gar last year, and that was a mistake. I'm going to keep a few this year.
Because you cut like 2, right? And the first one you had a nice right away, and it tasted delicious.
Yes.
The second one kind of sat out for a while.
For like half hour.
And
on a stringer,
wasn't as great.
Out.
Yeah.
No, he was on a stringer, and then I bled him out, and then I hauled him a half-hour walk back to my truck, and then another 10-minute run to the gas station to get ice. And it wasn't as good.
Still edible, but
he didn't go to waste.
Yeah.
But it wasn't
what you were expecting after the first run.
It didn't live up to the potential.
So you're full. If you guys want to line up a guide trip, I've got some openings left for this summer. Look up Tasler Ryan at hotmail.com. Shoot me a message on Facebook. Go to Tasler Guide Service on YouTube. Send me a message there, and we'll get it going.
Facebook's Tasler Guide Service on Facebook, right?
Or Brian Tasler. I've got both.
But you do have both.
Yeah.
You need a website, man.
I know. I need a website. I need a logo. I just haven't got that far yet.
TGS. I think there's potential.
Little TGS.
Yeah. It rolls off the tongue all right. It's not the best, but not the worst.
Not the worst. Yeah. Not the worst.
I mean, that kind of epitomizes how we go about things most of the time.
Exactly.
Anyway. I'm trying to be the best.
Yes.
That's one thing. I'm going to start doing more tournaments. And
That's interesting.
well,
Because you've been anti-tournament for a lot of years.
I'm just to the point where the reason I didn't do tournaments prior, I just don't give a shit. Because the reason I want to do a tournament outweighs the reasons I didn't do tournaments prior. So the reasons I didn't do tournaments prior is because I felt like they kind of brought the worst out in some
Because
people.
people suck. Yeah.
Well, it's like, do you want to deal with that? And I'm to the point where I don't really care because I just kind of, not even kind of, I want to be the best catfisherman I can be. And I think that
The added competition may elevate your drive a little bit.
yeah, I mean, iron sharpens iron, man. Like, when you put yourself up against the best, you're going to have to raise whatever you're doing to get there. And maybe I am there. I don't know.
Yeah.
But we're going to find out.
Yeah. There's going to be no question at the end of it.
Yep. And if I suck, I suck.
That's just going to drive you more.
If I do good, I do good.
Yeah.
Because regardless, at the end of the day, I'm going to get better.
Yes.
Which that's the goal. The goal is to get better, and if I get better to the point that I'm the best, then that's okay too.
I mean, and it goes back to like a lot of, like our background's wrestling. A lot of kids growing up wrestling, you know, may win this tournament and this tournament and this tournament. And then you get to a point where you're like, well, let's go to Tulsa. Let's go to, you know, and see where we're at.
And I'm gonna.
That's kind of the same thing.
This year, I'm gonna fish some of the Central Missouri Catfish Anglers tournaments, and they're on the Mississippi, Missouri. Got a couple of them coming up. And
Which is close enough. It's not out of the way.
not crazy.
Yeah.
And then if I get the rig that the boat that I'm thinking about getting and running trips on down in Bama, there's some tournaments down there that I'm gonna fish this winter.
That'd be just so much fun.
Yep.
Because the potential is there. I mean, of course, the Missouri tour, there's going to be big fish there.
You're gonna get the potential in Missouri is bigger than Tennessee.
You think so?
Hell yes.
I was just thinking, I'm a flathead guy. Blues, I'll catch them. Whatever.
Yeah.
But the potential to catch an 80-pound flathead down there is much higher than...
I disagree.
Really?
Yeah. I think there's bigger fish in the Midwest than there are down there. Like I think the biggest flathead in the Midwest.
Like numbers-wise? Like
Maybe.
you can catch...
Maybe not that.
I would think you can catch more 60s pluses down there than you could in the Midwest.
This is me just guessing based on the fish that I'm seeing people catching. Years ago, there was 2 flatheads over 77 pounds that were caught in Missouri
Really?
that I know of.
That's impressive.
Name another place.
Yeah, that's freaking impressive.
So I don't know. We're naming a lot of bodies of water in this podcast.
But
which
they're
isn't-
big.
But yeah.
They're big.
Well, that's the thing about those, man. Especially the mow. Like
And-
you.
And I can tell someone the exact
Fishing.
spot to go on the mow, and if you don't know what the heck you're doing, it's not gonna pan out.
Even
anyway.
if you do, like prime example, I was down there in October, and the first night at camp, like all the fish didn't even make it on the video. I think I caught 8. Like, so
It was a good night.
well, so I'm fishing during the day, catch a few fish, great, pull up to where I'm camping, throw a few rods out while I'm dicking around with the tent. Before I even get the freaking bag pulled out for my tent, one goes down, reel in a fish, great, throw them back, go back to my tent, lift the bag to open it up, another rod goes down. And
It's starting to be problematic.
yeah, it's almost annoying. Almost annoying. What a problem to have.
Yes.
But so I eventually get all my shit set up 3 fish later or something like that. And then throughout the course of the night, I'm trying to cook and stuff, like cook something to eat. And
So trail mix it was.
yeah, trail mix and charred ass fried fish. Because they just kept coming.
Yeah.
It was a great night. Was
That's
there
awesome.
2 more nights? Didn't catch a thing.
Not a thing.
Yeah, but that's how.
What
that
changed?
labor-
Did anything change?
No, water level's pretty consistent. The only thing that changed was I was there. You know, I was there the first night, caught them, and then they ain't there the next few nights. Was it because I was there, or was it because of something else? I don't know, man.
Yeah.
All I know is I caught them one night, and the next 2 nights I didn't. And then Maybe it's pressure related, maybe it's something else. I don't know.
So now, next time you do that same style of trip, are you going to go downstream to the next hole?
No.
No?
I kind of like the exploring during the day, chilling at night. You know, because like I'm up at sunset or sunrise, and I'm fishing till sunset, cast some lines out, and what happens at night. Because it's not so much that you're beat that's the big deal, but I want to set myself up for another good day.
Yeah.
You know, because if you go hard 12 hours, which you should, I think, and then you got to have some recoup time to be at full capacity
Charge
for
the
the next
batteries and
day.
ready to go. Yeah.
And if I'm at a sandbar and I get a couple bites at night, good. That's a nice balance. Or if I get 0, it's still fine.
Yeah.
Then you go out the next day and look for them again and try to learn some more shit.
Yeah.
At least that's where my mind's at. And that's like flathead fishing. That's one nice thing about flathead fishing is like a good night you get 1 or 2 bites. You know, and then you get a little bit of sleep. And
That's my style. I enjoy that.
That 1 or 2 bites.
Yes.
Yep.
And just the kick back, relax, have a great time type of mentality. Where, you know, when you're running the gun, it gets stressful at times. You know, you're on the horse all day long.
See, I like that balance.
Yeah.
You know, that when you do that multi-day float or multi-day boat trip or whatever, during the day, if you do it right, you're moving,
go.
baiting, repositioning, tying off, anchoring, you know, pulling up the bank, like just doing all kinds of shit. And then nighttime rolls around, you set up where you think is going to be the best spot to chill out.
Yeah.
Recuperate, get some good rest, wake up early.
Round 2
the next day. Yeah. And that fits me the best. I mean, you could argue that it's not the best way of going about it, but I would argue, like, there's got to be a time where you slow down. But then again, it depends on your lifestyle, too. You know, if you're a person who fishes 3 days a month, hell yeah, you're going to go hard on them 3 days,
Yes.
you know? But when you're on the water 5 to 7 days a week, like I can be, depending on time of year and everything else, you got to recuperate at some point in time, to some level.
And just the ability to take that short time and soak it in and enjoy it.
Yes.
Is a big part of your mental recuperation as well.
And I'm a grinder.
Yes.
Like, I like that grind. That's what I like about flatheads. It's like you embrace the suck and you just soak it in for long periods of time. But even with all that being said, you got to have that chill out time a little bit.
And that's what makes you a good kayak fisherman, in my opinion, is you just forehead first right through whatever's ahead of you.
Sure.
You know, and that's kind of how we started fishing together. Is
we
the
can
same
relate
mentality.
on those things.
Yeah.
We sound like we're patting each other on the back here, but it's why
why
we get along.
Yeah.
You know, it's like you're dumb, I'm dumb, and we don't give a shit.
That
so
sucked,
let's just
didn't it?
go. You know.
That really sucked, didn't it?
Yeah.
Yep. Let's do it again tomorrow.
Yeah, no point. But we might get a 50.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I know I was over top of one today, so
Right.
maybe we'll be hungry tomorrow.
If you could see, or let's say you could drain the river or see to the bottom, like live scope you can see, but you can't really see. You know,
Yeah.
like fish could be hiding under stuff and you would never know.
Especially flathead.
Especially flathead. But if you were able to see into the water all the way to the bottom and just know how many 50s or 60s you're sitting on top of,
Yeah.
I bet it'd make a dude freaking sick.
Yeah. I would agree.
Yeah.
I would definitely agree. And, you know, the research is so tough to get on that. Because, like we were talking with, was it Jeff that talked about when he shocks fish and they have to have a trailer boat?
Just for flatheads.
Just for flatheads.
So you got the double prong pain in the ass. And why that research thing would be such a badass thing, because when you can catch them any way you want and then track their movements, but with the sampling, you got to shock them with a certain frequency of electricity that's only effective on flatheads, and then there's like a delayed response.
Because they're in jams, they're in tight stuff.
No, it's not even because of that. It's just there's a delayed
I thought even though they floated up, it still took them time to get out in the current because they may have been lodged under something.
Well, there's that plus the delayed response. So you shock them, they get shocked. It takes them a minute before let's say there's nothing stopping them. You're going to shock them, and it's still going to take them a while to float up.
Yeah.
But then you mix in the fact that they're hanging out in shit, like tangles, where you shock them.
You gotta bounce off shit to get out.
Exactly. Or maybe they float up, and they float up against the top of the log they're under, and they never pop up.
Yeah.
So
they wake up like, what in the hell just happened?
I tell you what though, like all of these things, math is crazy. Because there are so many algorithms and models that you can apply this type of thinking to.
That gets the number pretty close.
Pretty close to understanding, like, how many fish are there. I'm of the advocacy that for fisheries management, I want them managed in a way that they are a sustainable resource managed in a direction that is good for the type of fishery and the anglers, what the anglers want that fishing. There's got to be a balance between those two things because some fisheries support high number, smaller fish. Some fisheries support bigger fish, smaller number. You can't have both.
You cannot. No, it's impossible. So, does the population want a group of fish to eat, or do they want trophy fish?
Exactly. So, but not every fishery can support
either.
Some are better for this, some are better for that, based on a bajillion factors. Starting with the type of watershed they're in. And I'm not saying that, because there's a lot of people that say we need these flathead regulations, and I'm of the camp that says we might, but we don't know.
Yeah.
So I want there to be some research done where we can sample and track movements and get a good idea of what the population even looks like and how it can be regulated to maximize what the anglers want. And when I say anglers, I'm not talking about myself, I'm talking about the whole group. I know what I want. I want big ass fish.
Yes.
Not everybody feels that way. And some people who feel that way, like
I wish flathead tasted like garbage.
There'd be a lot more.
Yes.
Maybe. I think there's more flatheads than people think.
Low water last year really showed the number density in some areas. I don't know if that density is normal or that was an adaptation of those fish. That's all they had to go. That's the only place they had.
What do you mean?
Like certain areas, I caught a lot of different fish.
Mm-hmm.
Like a 30, a 40, a 44, a lot of fish that were obviously different in one small area.
Oh, you didn't. So you're saying you fished a small area in low water where fish couldn't move around?
Yes.
And you didn't catch the same fish twice?
More than likely.
Yeah.
But I caught multiple good fish out of one small area. And I think, I have no research behind it, but I think it was just they had no other choice. That was the best living conditions in that general area, so they all congregated to it.
I mean, who's to say that there aren't dozens and dozens and dozens of holes just like that you couldn't get to because the water was so low?
Yes, and that's what I'm.
And actually, I will tell you that because I kayak too.
And I'm 99% sure that is the case. But if the water was higher, is there still going to be that quality of fish in a certain area, or are they going to spread out to, they're going to push the 20s to another area that's not quite as good as that one? You know what I mean?
Without any scientific data to support what I'm going to say, I'm going to say no. I'm going to bet.
There are just that many fish in that.
I'm going to say this hole that holds flatheads always holds flatheads. I think they do move up and down river seasonally, but based on
conditionally.
I said no research supports it. Actually, the more I'm thinking about it, everything I've ever read supports this statement. They move early in the year, they have a pre-spawn run, they have a post-spawn run, and then they have a winter run. So those 3 times a year they move, but they move
Which are great times to fish.
Yes, because they are moving.
They are moving.
But
So the chance of a fish coming by your bait is exponentially higher.
But when they're done moving, they're in their spot. They stay. So I think low water, high water, whatever, like they're going to that hole. And if you get a rain event that raises the water, I think they take off and explore, and maybe they stay where they're going, or maybe they come back to where they started. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
it'd be cool to know.
Moral of the story is, I think there are more flatheads than people think. I just think they're just tough to catch, man.
Yeah.
There's more than people think, but there's still not that many, and they don't eat every day.
No, especially the big ones that choke down a 4-pound carp.
In certain times,
You know.
they love choking down 4-pound
Yeah.
carp.
I mean, they're cold-blooded animals, so I relate them to like a boa constrictor that's fed. You know, they only eat once a week, you know, if that.
Maybe. Like,
Yeah.
I don't have any evidence to support that either.
That is true. That is true, but I mean,
Well, the only evidence I have is the flatheads I've had in tanks.
yeah.
And the little flatheads eat big shit. I will say that.
Like choke on
Yeah,
big shit.
like they'll eat. You know, you have a 6-inch flathead in this bait tank that eats a 5-inch, or not a 5-inch, but like a 3-inch green sunfish, and it's sticking out of his mouth for 4 days, and he just slowly digests it.
Chokes her down.
Yeah.
So let's say it's a size appropriate bait. Have you noticed like a feeding pattern? Because you always had bait in there, right? Like you didn't feed them on a Tuesday. Like there was always bait available.
Yes and no. Like there would be weeks where there would be something in there, and then eventually it'd all get eaten, and then there wouldn't be anything in there for a while. And then you
replenish.
Yeah.
So could you make like a pattern from that small amount of details that you had? Did he eat every 2 days? Did he mow down 1-2 days in a row and then not eat for a while?
He would eat normal size meals for, like, proportionally speaking, I would say if there were shiners in there, like 3 or 4 inch shiners that are skinny and easy to swallow, he would eat multiples of those every night.
Really?
Yes. But
that's cool.
There were certain time frames where he wouldn't eat a freaking thing. And the time frames were full moons, from about Thanksgiving break until spring break. He didn't eat a thing.
Really?
And that's the weird part. The water was 70 degrees.
Yes.
The whole time, and he didn't eat a thing for, what's that, 3.5 months?
That's crazy.
Yeah, December.
That makes zero sense. You know what I mean?
It does and it doesn't.
Yeah, it's just programmed into him. The seasons kind of.
I wonder.
You know?
I wonder if it's a day length thing, because you
Yeah.
know you had the window, you had daylight, and then it would get dark, and then it would get light before I showed up at school most of the time. So
that's cool. And just learning little shit like that excites me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It just makes my day better when I learn just dumb stuff like that.
Well, I'll add to it. So not only would he not eat the shiners swimming around in there, I would bounce the night crawler off his nose with a pair of feeding tweezers, like the 20-inch tweezers.
Yeah.
Drop it down in the tank and like basically brush his nose with a worm. Nothing.
Either he was eating or he wasn't.
And he didn't eat from Thanksgiving till, well, we went on a spring break trip, and he didn't eat anything leading up to that. And then we got back, and I was like, we'll see if he'll eat. Dropped that crawler down. It didn't get to his nose. Gone.
Been waiting for you, man.
Yeah. Because when they eat, they go.
Yeah.
And it's pretty cool.
I mean, predators are awesome.
It's
to
just
watch.
interesting how it's a switch.
Yeah.
When he was off, but when he was on, everything was on the mix.
And that's interesting about the full moon thing, too.
Yeah, that was weird. And I wonder if it's a light thing, but I don't know. Like, he would eat a little bit, but it was nothing. Like, there would be that 3 to 5 day window every month.
That was obvious.
That was obvious where fewer things died.
But normally he would just mow down a couple.
Like, I had to catch a lot of shiners for that little while. Didn't mind it.
Didn't mind it.
Didn't mind it a bit.
Name of research.
You know, 10-inch or smaller flathead in a 10-gallon aquarium is pretty
Fun.
cool.
Yeah.
But if you had a 250-gallon aquarium, you could put like a 15-pounder in there. You know,
Then we get to really bad fun.
Right. Although the problem would boil down to like bait's an issue
Yes.
at certain time.
Yeah, we're not just gonna feed him a couple shiners a day.
No, so I would have to not only catch bait that I want to fish with, but bait to feed that son of a bitch.
That's a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, he'd have to get 8 just on conditions alone.
Right. But who knows? It might happen one of these days.
Yeah,
It could
that'd be fun.
Could learn a lot.
Yeah. So, destination trips. You talked about you're going next week and then you're going down south.
So pre-fishing for a tournament on the Mo, and then going down to Oklahoma, Texas. And that's I'm going to go to the visit the Mississippi. Trying to, should I share this here? I mean, I asked the question out loud, so I pretty much have to. Trying to talk my wife into moving. We'll see. We will see.
We've tried that in years past.
Yeah. So we're going to check out Mississippi for like down in Missouri.
Yeah?
So I'm going to take a trip down there for like 5 days. And we're going to scope out the area.
Good water.
I mean, it's world record water.
Yeah.
You know, world record would be cool. I'd like to catch one.
I mean, if you're gonna hang something on the coat rack, it might as well be a world record.
Right. So to catch a world record, you got to fish places where world records exist.
That's exactly
And
right.
that would be one area.
For more than 3 days at a time.
Right.
To up your percentages.
Right.
Yeah.
And so we're going to do that in May, and Missouri River in July. Probably some more Missouri River sprinkled around. And I'm going to do more domestic stuff. I want to do a week-long, this fall, I want to kayak for a week on the Missouri River. I want to go from western Iowa to central Missouri.
That'd be cool.
Not sure what ramps. It's going to take a lot of planning and
Yes.
logistics.
Yes.
Because I'm going to need some care packages of bait dropped off. I'm going to need some care packages of beer dropped off. That was one of the things that led me to buying the kayak that I bought, is that H10 has pretty good weight capacity, but only so much space.
Yeah.
Whereas going to a 12-foot kayak, now I have more space.
And to sit on top alone gives you more.
No, I mean, I think the sit insides, because you can put more stuff inside of it.
Yeah.
But opening that bow up, now I have more room in the bow, and there's actually a little storage compartment in the back, too, inside the hole.
Okay.
So
So you're like got a double-decker kayak now.
Yes. Yep, I can put stuff in it and on top if I want to. The problem with putting stuff on top is you reduce your stability. The higher you stack things up, the more wobbly it gets. And on the Missouri River, you don't mess around on the Missouri River. So
I agree. Yeah.
I would keep as many things tucked down inside to keep my nice and stable. Float down the Mo in the fall, which I want to do the fall because that's a good time to kayak fish in Missouri, where fish get concentrated in areas where you can actually catch them. The water's colder, so I'm gonna be wearing
Safety minded.
safety minded.
Yeah.
You know, I want my.
But you got your striker suit.
That ain't gonna save you.
No, but
The way to do it would be a dry suit, which I have had a dry suit that I trashed this winter, kayak and shark baits out. It went from a dry suit to a dry-ish suit.
yeah,
And
just from sitting.
no,
pretty
from
much.
getting demoed by waves in the
Oh.
surf. Yeah,
Another adventure.
yeah.
You're like, why did I do this?
I got
so many years.
I got flipped by a wave in the surf for the first time in a long time. And I have excuses, and they're very valid excuses. But at the end of the day, I got smoked.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. I
Yeah.
got smoked, and that whole dry suit filled up with water. So
Ooh,
you know, that water was 60, and I just wore it as a comfort, like thing for comfort. You know, you want to stay dry, but when you're floating the Mo and the water is 50,
now it's a safety concern.
now it's a survival thing.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I'll get another one or if I'll get Like I have a set of waders and a dry top, and then you cinch a belt around and you wear a life jacket. I feel pretty good about that.
Yeah.
Which is much more economical way. Is it quite as good? No, but the problem with the dry suits too is they have the rubber socks, like the rubber footies.
Yeah.
And they're tight, and even with wool socks, my feet get cold.
Cut off the circulation. Yeah.
Not terrible, but just enough to
You notice it.
you notice like I'm feeling a little hypothermic.
And I'm dry.
And I'm dry. So I don't know. I'll probably go with the waders. They got those neoprene
Yeah.
footies.
But you got a float top and bottom, right? For ice fishing?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and you can wear that too. But it's, I mean, I shouldn't say it won't save your life, but it probably would save your life in the short term. But the long term, you're still going to get wet.
It's not like you're going to be 5 minutes away from help. You know what I mean? You get yourself out, you're wet, you're still on a sandbar, trying to make a fire, trying to get dried off before you can relax.
Yeah, which the old Bigfoot bushcraft fire starters.
It could save your life in that scenario.
And this is a convenient segue into a product plug. Because you can use promo code Spencer Bauer and save 10%.
You could.
But real talk, like having a fire starter of some sort's a good freaking idea. And
Yes.
You could go that route. You could do the cotton balls with the Vaseline. There's fire starting gel. Like I just saw some at Walmart when I was on my way here. All that stuff is good. And
You just got to make sure it can get wet and still produce.
that's it, you
Yep.
know. And having a lot of lighters or flint and steel. Actually, redundancy on those things is a good idea.
Yes.
Like multiple lighters.
They don't take up any room,
Yeah.
you know.
Yep. So having all that stuff, which I will, you know, I'm gonna have all that stuff this weekend. I just started packing for this week, going down there, and I got fire starters, I got 2 lighters, I got flint and steel, and I should be good.
Yeah.
You know, and I not only have fire starters in my camping bag, I have fire starters in my cooking kit, and I have fire starters in a separate pocket of my camping bag that zips close. So
So if something gets lost, washed downstream, you're still good.
should be,
Yep.
should be. The nice thing about a boat is you can get out of there a lot faster. The kayak, that's part of the thing with the kayak. It's like you can only get out of there so fast. But
Yeah.
I want to give a rip anyway. I want to do a week. See how far I can make it.
Kinda cool.
I have a few different starting and ending points in mind, but this week will tell me a lot because I've never been down to this stretch. Don't know what it looks like. I'm gonna fish that tournament on it, so that's why I'm going there to pre-fish.
Yeah. And we talked about that you're going to hit so many different weather situations this week that it's going to really help you prepare for that
Oh
tournament.
yeah, Tuesday, high pressure, post front. Wednesday, dropping pressure, pre-front, unseasonably warm, windy. Thursday, I think the pressure is supposed to keep dropping as the rain settles in, and I'm going to have a downpour. And then during the course of all of it, and then Thursday night, the temperature is supposed to drop from 60 down to 22.
You're going to notice a little fishing difference.
with rain and snow, and over the course of this whole trip, the water's going to be dropping. So,
If you were to draw it up on paper, that would not be the scenario that you would draw up.
no. But to be able to catch fish in those situations, I think, is very important.
It's crucial if you want to do it in a competition setting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
This whole year is going to be about learning. That's my goal. Like, to learn as much as absolutely possible, get myself set up for success from a mechanical standpoint, I guess, and give them hell, see what happens. I totally have every expectation to get my ass kicked for a good long while.
And you should. You
Yeah,
know, I mean, when you
it-
start a venture like that, and if you come out on top right away, that kind of takes some of the
Well,
sweetness out
I
of
fished a few tournaments and got my ass kicked in the past.
it. You paid a little dues.
I've paid a few dues.
Yeah.
Now,
Not at this level that you're talking, though.
No. Well, this level, it's a regional, local level. This one.
Yeah.
I fished a few national tournaments, 2, and never done well. Well, this last winter we finished middle of the pack,
Yeah.
but we'll see how.
With your third guy being 10.
No, he was like 6.
That's it. And he was the fish reeler inner.
Yeah,
That was his job.
In
You
our-
found him, you put him on him, he got to reel him in.
and our 4th guy had 4 legs and a tail. So we were not set
But
up.
neither one of them bitched. They were good.
No. One got regular snacks and the other one had Pokemon. Good day for both of them.
Yeah. Because if you don't have a partner that bitches, that's half the battle.
Then you make shit. You're joking.
No,
But
I'm not.
But you're not
Yeah.
joking.
Because we've been on trips where we've had co-anglers that were not having a good time, and it ruined a lot of the fun.
If anybody ever fishes with me and they never want to fish with me again, just complain.
Yeah.
That's all you gotta do.
That's it.
Don't worry, you won't get invited.
Yeah, that's it. Might still send you pictures, but
Yes,
you're not
yes.
invited. Yeah.
Well, it is funny how many people complain on the water. Like, there's one thing joking about it. You're just like, oh, haha, the weather sucks, blah, 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 blah.
And then you put your nose down and you go to work.
Yes. And,
Yeah.
But then there's the people who are really sincere about their complaining.
Like they want to alter our destination
Yeah.
and not do things the way we should do them.
What's the good, right? If it's that bad, go home.
Yeah.
You just
Yeah.
leave. You leave me alone.
I have fire starters. I'll make you a spot.
Right. No, that always blows my mind.
Yeah.
You know, if you say you love something and then you complain about it, it's just like, shut up.
Yeah. And
If I complain, it's in jest.
yes.
I am 100%.
Yeah.
And you could make the argument even that's bad because the jokes can sometimes become the reality.
Yeah, but when we get to that issue, we are going through some subpar conditions.
Yeah.
It's not like, oh, I got a hangnail.
Yeah.
We just went through some shit.
We just had there was a tornado out here.
But we could have caught a 50.
That's right. That is one hell of a motivator.
You know,
the weather sucks, but one bite.
that's it.
Just one bite.
That's it. And that's why I love catfishing. It takes that one frickin' bite.
I mean, you could apply that to any of them. You know,
Yeah.
instead of a 50, you could say largemouth. We could catch 10.
I about caught that 16-inch crappie.
Or, I mean, I feel like a 50-pound flathead is like a 17 or 18 inch
Yeah.
crappie. You know?
Yeah.
Or,
Which I've done, and it's just not the same.
no.
But I'm not
no.
a crappie guy. I like eating them. I like use them for bait once in a while, but I'm just not a crappie guy.
Oh, this would be a fun one. Let's break this down. So 50-pound flathead, that's like the mark.
Yes.
So what is, a 50-pound flathead is equivalent to what in a largemouth?
I would say in this area, a 10.
No, I'd say an 8.
Really?
Yeah. State record's 10 something.
I don't know.
I'm firm on the 8.
Yeah?
I'm firm on it. Because
But you go to some farm ponds and 8-pound bass.
where? I've never seen it.
Over in western Iowa where I grew up, you can.
Yeah, okay.
There was pet 8-pound fish.
Yeah, so there's certain places where it's
Yeah.
no big deal. It's not as big of a deal to catch a 50-pound flathead.
Where? Let's go.
East?
Let's go.
We're going.
Let's
Don't
go.
worry.
I will be in your truck in 10 minutes.
I'm firm on the 8-pound largemouth equivalent.
That's
to
a big
50-pound
bass. It's a big
flathead.
bass.
But then let's go to smallies.
6.
I agree. It's 6.
Yeah.
Crappies.
Probably an 18.
I'm thinking 17.
Yeah.
Because that 18 is approaching state record size.
And it just doesn't look like a crappie.
Right.
It's
'Cause
a completely different
you're
fish.
talking 18 crappie, in my mind, is like 70-pound flathead.
Really?
I think so. Because you're getting close to that state
But
record.
they're a prey fish, so the number of them is going to be
But not.
exponentially bigger.
Well, there's a larger number of fish, but when you talk about percentages of the population, I bet it's comparable. Like, let's say
that's true.
let's say a fraction of 1% of all crappies on this planet, or in Iowa, are 18 inches.
But that still makes them thousands of 18 inchers versus tens of.
But it's got to be
50 pluses.
comparable. And that's the only way to make it comparable, because you don't have as many flatheads as you have crappies. So I'm going to think applying percentage of the population that is this size to percentage of the population that's this size.
Which makes sense.
So I'm saying 17-inch crappies like a 50-pound flathead. 50-ish. 50 to 50, maybe 50-something.
Yeah.
And then, I don't know, bluegill? 10? 10.
Which 10 is pretty it's not, 10's a lot more common.
I can count how many 10s I've seen on one hand.
Really?
Yeah, like true 10s. True 10s. Like saw them on a measuring tape.
Yeah.
Like I've looked at them and I've had many times where someone's like, that's got to be like 10 inches, and you put it on a measuring tape, it's 9.5.
Yeah.
Happens all the time. True 10.
Still a stud bluegill.
It is, but it's not a 10.
It's not.
Yeah.
It's not.
That 10 mark is a special mark on gills.
That's true.
And then I think with walleyes, I'd say probably 28 inch.
Yeah.
That,
Here.
That 8-ish pounder.
Here would be, that's a stud walleye.
Mm-hmm. And I think I've caught about as many 50-pound flatheads as I have 28-inch walleyes. I think it's pretty close.
Which is weird because time-wise, you've put so much more time into flatheads versus walleyes.
I don't know if I have.
Really?
Like I went hard on a walleye.
Yeah, but you had years and years and years before you started walleye fishing on flathead.
Like 2 years.
Really?
Yeah. I've been going hard on the walleyes for a long time. I started going hard on.
But you're kind of seasonal on walleyes, like you do spring, fall.
Flatheads are seasonal.
But it's a much longer season.
Is it? Like think about it. You got the middle of May till the middle of September of quality flathead fishing.
Yeah.
It's only 4 months.
But you have 2 weeks in the spring that's quality walleye fishing.
I have from the end of February, middle to end of February, until the middle to end of April, which is what, 2 months?
Yeah.
And then I have the beginning of October till the beginning of December.
Yeah.
About 2 months. So it's about the same.
That's true. It's just not that long fishing portion of the year. I'm ready to move on.
The hard part about ice fishing, from a video making standpoint, is to catch quality fish on a regular basis in the area. I mean, anywhere it's tough. Here it's extra tough.
Yes.
Unless you can get on the cats.
Yes.
And there's a few places and a few conditions that if you line it all up, you can get on the cats. But aside from that, it's tough.
Yeah, and I did go on a couple cat trips that did not pan. I mean, I caught some fish, but they weren't cats. I just couldn't get on.
You should have called me.
I know.
I would have sent you in the right direction.
I know.
But that's boring when you have somebody telling you what to do. It's more fun to beat your head against the wall.
And then figure it out, and you're like, oh yeah, I knew that. Well, now I do too.
So my last cast is when things go bad, who gives a shit? Because no matter what you do, things are going to go bad at some point in time, so you might as well just move on.
Absolutely right.
And Bigfoot Bushcraft Fire Starters, promo code Spencer Bauer, save 10%. Oh, Waterland sunglasses, RC15, save 15%, support this podcast, support me, and you get a badass set of sunglasses. They have the new bed fishers, changing creek chub fishing for the rest of your life.
Really?
They have the big blockers on the side, so they block
tunnel
out
vision.
All the glare, and you catch all the sneebs you can imagine.
From like your spillway video where you're clear up there and you're calling out fish species from way down.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that's awesome.
Yes.
Most people see water. He sees fish.
Best bang for your buck sunglasses, which I'm all about bang for your buck type stuff, except for my new kayak because I went premium for once in my life.
But it is bang for the buck because it checks all the boxes.
Yes. All right, I'm going to go pee.
Yeah, you go pee. I'll wrap it up. My last cast is I just want to thank you guys for watching. Thank you for supporting Tasler Guide Service. Want to thank Spencer. I'm glad he's back. You know, we're going to have a lot of adventures this summer. Can't wait to do some fishing trips with him, do some guide trips, some collaboration trips. Hopefully they pan out. So thank you guys. I will see you next week with a fishing video. So have a good week.